The writer-executive dynamic is one of the most important relationships in entertainment, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. And today, Lorna Withrington is here to demystify it for us, answering questions like, what is an executive really listening for in a pitch? What should the pages we leave behind actually accomplish? And what does it take to get that yes? This is my conversation with Lorna Withrington. Here we go. All right, this is the Story Series, the podcast for writers who break the rules. Lorna Withrington, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me on. This is exciting.
You are a recognized leader in the development and acquisition of kids and family properties, with a career that spans Mattel, Entertainment One, Spin Master, Wildbrain, and now is the head of development at Gigglebug Entertainment, as well as running your own consultancy with Bells On Entertainment. So once again, welcome.
Thank you. Yes.
What do you consider your breaking in moment to be?
Well, I was very fortunate in that in graduating, I got a scholarship called the Peter Orton Scholarship. And that got me into Hit Entertainment, which at the time was Bob the Builder, Thomas the Tank Engine, Pingu, all these classic, very British brands. And with that scholarship, it was 3 months effectively work experience, internship. And I got to work in multiple different departments. So I worked in the live events team and got to see what they do, the home entertainment team, which looked very different back then because we still had DVDs. Slightly different now. The technical team, the production team, I really got to the consumer products team. And coming in and being able to see how one show feeds an entire company and all the different skill sets involved in that was really eye-opening, really foundational for the rest of my career of understanding, okay, I am making a show, but in success, this show becomes so much more than that. And, in success, if you really build a fandom, it grows beyond the television screen and becomes really meaningful to kids' lives. It's meaningful if they kind of say, I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. I'm the Bob the Builder fan. They have the lunchbox. They have the backpack. They're telling you something about themselves when they say they're a fan of something. And I think that kind of foundational seeing that it's, we love to make TV and that's what we do, but it actually goes further than that as well.
You've described your role in development as matchmaker. Could you speak to what you meant by that?
So it's kind of like a creative matchmaker, maybe is a way to put it. So nowadays I sort of go into a company and help them assess their slate, identify where they might want to grow their slate, any gaps, or identify white space that they're interested in. And then I go out into the world and find those ideas. An idea can come from anywhere. It's not just markets. It's not just sitting at my desk taking pictures. It might be a book IP. It could be a comic strip. I've tried to option a comic strip in the past. It could be a live event. An idea can come from genuinely anywhere. If it's feeling right, obviously I'm matchmaking that to what the company wants to achieve and bringing that in. So then I bring that in, I option it. And then the other side of the matchmaking is then I creatively matchmake whatever that idea is with a creative team. And again, that team looks different depending on what the IP is. It's different for every idea. I don't think I've ever hired the same team to develop multiple shows. So, you find the IP, you're going to find the right voice for it, or if it comes with a voice already, then you'll start diving into the materials, and then you'll start trying to find the visual development and the visual voice for the show. So yeah, it's kind of building matchmaking in like who's going to be the best for this idea, who's going to bring this to life, who's going to connect with it, because development is a long haul. And you really need them to feel passionately about it.
Yes. And there's a combination too, because there's kind of two categories there's existing IP where it kind of comes from within, and then there's taking originals. Is that right?
Yeah, there's sort of 3 ways in, I guess. You've got it's an original idea from a writing creator or a non-writing creator. It's an existing IP, so that could be a book or anything that already exists out there that needs adaptation. So you're going to bring in a writer to adapt that for television. Or it can be an RFP. RFP is a request for proposal. So that's typically when you've identified a white space. You're really keen to find something in that space. And, I've done so many of these. But basically, you're putting together a brief of this is what we're looking for. Here's what interests us. Here's what doesn't interest us. Here's the competition to be aware of and not do again. Take this brief and find your twist, find your voice in it, make it yours. What would you do with this brief? And then typically I only send that to, again, I'm matchmaking. I've already got kind of people in mind of just like, they're going to be perfect for this. They love witches and this is a witch show. And I've spoken to them about such and such in the past. And this person, and then I might, I don't always want to just go to people I know. So I will also probably do a round where I'll go out to the agents and say, look, I've got a witch show. Who would you recommend? And then I'll, go from kind of the person that I might not necessarily know, but the agent has spoken well to what their interest in that area.
Yeah, it's almost like you're tapping your personal network and also trying to reach out to just maybe people that you don't know. And so there's that balance of like bringing in who you know and just kind of testing out new talent, right?
And it's not always that I know them really well. It's just that I've met them once and they told me they like witches, and I know their CV, but I
Yes.
haven't worked with them. But I know that,
Yes.
like, oh, whatever, they've got a real affinity to karate.
Yeah. Right here. It's interesting. Like that question that writers get a lot from executives is, what do you like to write?
Yes.
And I think there's a tendency with writers, and I'd love for you to just kind of dispel this, but there's a fear of answering the wrong thing or saying, well, I like to write everything, or think of me for this, or how do you advise writers answer that? What are some answers that are both authentic to the writer, but helpful to the executive at the same time?
Great question. And I do ask this question. I am that annoying exec. I tend to phrase it as, what's your happy place? And then generally they'll say like, well, I'm known for preschool, but I've also done this bridge work. I'm really trying to build out in 6 to 9, whatever they'll say what their CV is going to tell me.
Yeah.
Then they might tell me a hope and a dream but actually I'm really interested in this. And then I'll sort of say like, I'll dive deeper. And that's when I start to get the whole like, oh, well, I grew up in such and such. And there we all played in the da-da-da. And I have a real affinity for ponies. Or, I love karate. I'm a karate teacher, And I'm like, oh, and now I'm getting into it. And now I'm just like, okay, I know that so-and-so has they really love writing 6 to 9. And they're a karate expert. So I know if I'm going to get like an action show that's 6+, and I need to find a voice for it, I'm going to lean out to that person. I'm going to call you, Brandon, and say, karate show, it's 6 to 9. Do you want to take a stab at this? Do you want to have a look and see if it's interesting to you? And have that conversation with you at that point.
Yes. And in that example, that's something that is an RFP, request for proposals. We talked about something kind of originating on the executive side. In those instances, when writers go in, it's almost like I kind of equate it to when actors go in to audition for a film or TV role. This is how writers audition. What are you listening for when you get a request for? There's always that kind of, I'm sure the process changes, but there's that kind of verbal meeting, and then oftentimes there's a follow up with a handful of pages, and kind of what are you like really looking out for that says, oh, this writer gets it?
Real affinity to what is in there. And again, excitement of it's like, oh, I've been waiting for a karate pitch for forever. Like I've been such an expert. No one's ever bought me one. And I'm so excited to dive into this. Sometimes I don't even need the meeting. If I do know them well enough, I'm like, go for it. Like we're going to pay you to write 4 pages of a pitch to this. Again, everyone is different. So we're sort of generalizing here. And I would say
Yeah.
it's not always just an RFP for a particular white space. It might be for a book adaptation. So I
Right.
might have optioned a book that's got a Karate Kid in it, and we want to make that into a series. Same can be the same scenario, or I might just come directly to you.
Hmm.
Um, depending again, every IP, every idea is different, and I'm adapting as much to its needs and what I need to do to build that team to get it made.
Right. And on the subject, let's say you receive pages for an RFP. Are you looking for uh, character dynamic? Are you looking for story engine? The potential, can this last, X amount of episodes? Is there comedy? Like, we're generalizing here, but as a whole, what should those pages accomplish?
Yeah. Generally looking for all of the things you said, but the thing that will get it over the line, the thing that will get you the job is the twist. So generally assume, like we might get into play patterns later on. Assume all play patterns have been done. You're probably not going to invent a new play pattern, but you can bring your unique twist to an existing play pattern, to an existing idea. So you even remove the word play pattern to the existing idea. It's your twist that's going to make it special. That's why we're coming to you. That's what we're looking to you for. We've read 1,000 million pitches over time, and it's your voice or your twist. I tend to use the phrase twist. You'll hear different
Mm.
language from different execs, but what's the twist that makes this really interesting and compelling? Where I serve the audience. My aim is to create shows for an audience, and I act as your bridge to an audience. That's my job as a development exec. I'm your bridge to the company. I'm your bridge to the buyers, but I'm also, my main job is, I've always got the audience in mind. How are we servicing them? Are we delivering on what they want from this? Are we exciting them? So when it comes to, let's stick with karate, it's a karate show. What's the Brandon twist that makes
Mm.
that unique and special that I haven't seen before, because the audience and thus the audience hasn't seen before? That's what I'm looking for. Like, there could be 100 karate shows out there, or battling shows out there. What
Right.
is it that is the twist? What is different about yours? And that could be the character, that could be the world. I mean, I always hope it's the character. You don't get a show without character and an interesting world, but it's your unique twist that is going to get it over the line.
In those pages, what does it look like or read like when a writer over delivers? Like, when is a writer doing too much? Like, you don't have to do this, or
Well, look, I am a definite advocate for under promise, over deliver. So it's not a bad thing to deliver more, but
yeah.
I mean, and this goes into development too. If you don't want to write so much that the exec's not going to read it. There's only
Mm.
so much information we need. We'll know very quickly whether it's interesting or not. So you also don't want to waste your time. If we've commissioned 3 to 4 pages and you deliver 5, great. If you deliver 3 to 4, great, as long as the idea's there. But if you deliver 10, that's probably a bit too much. I not only have I got to read it, I've also got to try and advocate for other people to read it, and everyone's time is very precious. And so you don't want to do too much. One, because it's going to waste your time. You've been paid for 3 to 4 pages. You should deliver 3 to 4 pages. Um, but yeah, just making it too long, too detailed, similar to when you're pitching out an idea, whether I'm pitching it or you're pitching it to me, you don't want to take up too much time. You want to be able to say what the show is really succinctly.
Going from RFPs now to originals, and so a writer pitches you an original idea. Are you listening for that twist as well? Is that something that you're like kind of the number one thing that you're trying to hone in on?
Well, it depends what bucket your shows, what your audience is. Again, if it's slice of life, character driven, core preschool, it's going to be your voice. What why am I going to want to spend time with this family dynamic? What's interesting about it? Or is there a twist on slice of life? Can you find a new way into slice of life that we haven't seen before? If it's sort of play pattern driven or hooky, then it's the twist. Because
Yeah.
they've all been done, right? Like all been done. So you're not going to show me a play pattern I haven't seen, and if you can, good on you, fair play, well done. Yet to have that happen, but
Right.
you are going to be able to show me a twist that I haven't seen before. That is different. And again, like you need to be cautious when you're. And to clarify what a play pattern is, a play pattern is a job function, a role play. This character does this every episode. Bob is always a builder. Paw Patrol are always rescuing. Gabby's Dollhouse is Dollhouse Place or Doinky Doink Play. It's also got unboxing in Gabby's.
Yep.
Or as you go older, we tend to move away from play pattern and we just talk about mastery of skills, which as we've already discussed, karate, ninja, Reckless Ladybug, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's still effectively a play pattern. We just tend to move up the language to mastery of skills because that's what reflects the audience. You know, a 5-year-old is finding their place in the world. A 9-year-old is mastering skills. They're getting good at stuff. So they want characters that reflect that.
I'm thinking of the difference between play versus mastery of skill, which oh yeah, that was just a great insight. Yeah, I was like, oh.
I think sometimes people hear play pattern and sometimes it is you kind of you get that reaction of like it's a dirty word. But all it really effectively means is it's something kids play. It's something they understand and go actually play in the playground. And then you're giving them a character that does something that they know and they like to play. But your job is to give it an innovative twist that they haven't seen before that makes them go, wow, I know. I've always played, I've played Rancher, but I've never played Rancher with dinosaurs before. Dino Ranch.
I'm curious, what is something that you think writers should better understand about executives?
Such a good question. And I always think we're not mysterious. You must know everything. I think from a pitching us shows point of view, if you've hooked us, if we're interested in what you've shared with us, we then become your champions inside the company. And we're going to have to go out and really get everyone else excited about this, whether that's, the marketing division or the CEO. So what can be really helpful is if you have already got like that really sharp log line or a sale, some sort of salesy line, that really shows the hook of a show. And of course, your show is so much more than that, but we need that kind of quick elevator, got it, that can get the attention of everyone else in the company. And I always think of Shonda Rhimes, Souls, Grey's Anatomy, on something like it's ER meets Sex and the City. And you're like, got it. I got it. And I can sell that. I can go to the CEO and be like, it's ER meets Sex in the City. Got it. And of course, again, like you've put work into a Bible and characters, and it's so much more than, Grey's Anatomy is so much more than ER meets Sex and the City. In fact, you could say it's nothing like that. But it helps.
No, but that puts a picture in your head. And you also mentioned something that you listen for in a pitch is the twist. Is okay, here's the setting or the hook, but how you're doing a little bit differently. So, okay, how are you approaching an ER type of show? Oh, it's Sex and the City music. Okay, I haven't seen that before. Is that an example of that twist where it stays in your head? It'll evolve, it'll change, but you have it's anchored in your imagination now.
Yeah, and I can easily, if I'm pulled, the CEO's walking past me and is like, have you seen anything cool recently? I'll be like, yes, I've got this show. It's gnomes, but like you've never seen them before. Like it really, that is very helpful.
Yes.
And that twist is always the I've not seen it that way before, and that
Not seen it that way.
is really, really
Yeah.
the thing that everyone can get excited about.
And something that I hear too from writers is that it could feel like a moving target. And I'm curious if it feels like that for the executive on the inside, where there's the company is looking for this, and then in the next week or the next month, it's the opposite or it changes. Is there kind of a whiplash on the inside too sometimes?
Yeah, from right now in particular, everyone is finding their feet in a vastly altered landscape and trying things out and swapping around. But I don't generally upper preschool, play pattern driven preschool has always been wanted because it has that easy translation into toy. It's very holistically, you can just say to you, no, this is again overgeneralizing, but you can go to the toy team and be like, it's Doctor Play. And they're like, great, we know what to do with that. I'm like, this is the twist. Great, we've got it. And then you get left alone to go and make your beautiful show with wonderful characters and an amazing world. You don't get left alone. You input and you talk with your
Right.
toy teams, but it's that it's more holistic in that way of it's not shoehorning a toy into a show. It's a toy that naturally derives from a great show. And you're never going to get to toy unless you've got amazing characters and worlds first and foremost. You can make all the toy, you can put all the toyetic stuff you want in a show. If you don't actually have an interesting show, you're never going to get to the toy. So, sometimes that can sound a bit like, oh, you just want toy. And like, I think kids want the toy. You want to make a show where kids want the toy because
Yes.
you want to go and play it.
What's the best way for a writer to continue the relationship with you? Do you appreciate writers who follow up? And what is the etiquette when it comes to reaching out again and checking in? And how do you prefer writers stay in contact?
That's okay. Following up is absolutely fine. And we don't ever want you to feel like you're in the dark, although we know that happens a lot. Again, like there's a lot of internal stakeholders that we have to go and have a conversation with. It's slow and it's not, we've got other things that are moving faster, and submissions is what generally when you pitch to us, we kind of call it acquisitions and submissions. And that meeting might only happen once a month internally in the department. So that's a month. And then they might be excited about it, and there's a few more people that they want to hear about it. And so then you've got to wait another couple of weeks. So although we're slow, it's not that nothing is happening during that time. So it's totally okay to check in, and we'll give you most of us will give you an update of where we are. Like, oh, actually, or we haven't, the meeting got cancelled and we haven't had a chance to talk about it. Or actually, so we want to bump it up to the CEO and we want to have this conversation. We are slower with it. So follow up is fine, but if it's within a couple of days or a week, that's probably too soon.
A little too soon, yeah. You find like 2 weeks is a decent, like, okay, it's appropriate to check in now.
I would say 3 weeks to a month. Yeah,
Okay.
normally these meetings are monthly apart. So if you're pitching directly after a monthly one, you've got a month before anyone's kind of having that conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that's so helpful to hear because in the absence of communication, the writer or just it's human condition. You write the worst story in your head. Oh,
Yes.
they hate it, or it's a no, or and then in reality, no one's actually gotten together to talk about it yet. So there is no answer. And so I think that that's great. And so that's helpful just to like hey, put a number on it. Hey, oftentimes it's once a month for these meetings, and in those meetings, is there? I'm imagining whether or not it's virtual or in person, but a giant round table and everyone goes around to talk about things that they've heard that you feel have potential or that excited you, and then putting it up against the current slate of where things are that are in development now. Is that kind of what those meetings are like?
Yeah, every company is different. So some companies are really strict. They're like, we'll get back to you within 90 days. And they can like, if you haven't heard back from, we've failed sort of thing. Which is again, 90 days is 3 months. It's a long
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And sometimes we need that time. And again, sometimes if it's taking longer, that can be a good thing because it means that it's going further and more conversations happening. But yes, generally it is more of a roundtable scenario. More stakeholders are in there. We're having a conversation. What excited us? Why are you excited about this? And it might be, yeah, again, I've done it so many different ways by this point, but it might be everyone comes to the table with the shows that they're excited about from that month. Or it might be one person who is the kind of the gateway into the company. Everyone pitches this one person, and then they're pitching to the wider team of saying, here are the ones that really excited me this week that I think we should talk about. And then you'll sit, have a discussion and kind of go like, okay, well, what about this? Or maybe that's like this. And you will pull up your slate. and again, not every company actually lays out their development slate, which terrifies me because that's my 101. But you should have your slate there. You do then look at, okay, well, this actually would really fit in here. Or actually, we've already got something that touches on that. We don't want to cannibalize our own slate. Or there might be history that the person that took the pitch doesn't know about. So you could
Right.
have, oh, we tried pirates. And you know what? We just couldn't get the buyers in on it. Like pirates can be a tricky one every now and then. So we've tried pirates and it's something that the company's a bit allergic to. So we're just never going to sell it internally because everyone's going to have a bad taste in their mouth from it. So let's not pursue that one
Right.
because it's going to be an uphill climb, and we don't want to go through it. We don't want to put the creator through it. We just know that right now is probably not the great time to put that one through.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, is there a type of pitch that you seem to hear over and over? Like a type of pitch where someone comes to you with something with what they think is a really interesting hook or way in, and it's like, oh, that's actually way more common, or it's the classic writer mistake that keeps coming up.
I mean, there are a lot. There are only, if we're specifically talking about playpans, there are only so many playpans. Or if you're talking
Yeah.
about, core preschool family play, there are at
Right.
least so many, family scenarios out there. So then that really becomes about the voice in that family scenario of like what was particular about your family. Like, are you a writer that comes from 6 siblings and you really
Right.
understand that's going to be interesting? And I won't necessarily have heard your way into that before. Obviously,
Mm,
Loud House, but you know what I mean. Of
right.
this, there's something hooky, and I'm going to remember about that. There are play patterns that are known for being challenging, but I always say that with I always say to take that with a pinch of salt, because one day someone will do it and it will become the next big thing, and everyone will say like, "Oh no, we were always looking for space." But
Yes.
actually the truth of the matter was, especially if you're at a very toy-driven company, they might have a history of finding space really hard to sell for in the kid
Yeah.
space. Obviously, like there's legacy brands that are like Star Trek and Star Wars, but those are legacy brands that are passed down from a mum to a daughter, from parents to kids. And they're a family thing that trying to break through with something new could be challenging.
Right. Right. And even then, in a legacy brand like Star Trek, Star Wars, those are such huge worlds that going if you're trying to target kids, and especially young kids, it's like, what part of that world do you bring forward and make the show about? It's not, you're not telling an entire cinematic arc in a preschool show. So what about that Star Wars, Star Trek world are you going to bring forward and
Yeah.
make the show? Right. Like, and find the specific play pattern on this planet, or, it's not like visiting 12 planets every episode and spaceships, and which can easily get like, whoa, where am I? Where's the yeah, yeah. There's a challenge to that.
And if it's preschool who are just learning about the world outside their front doorstep, and you take them to an alien planet, how do they like, it's not that they can't, there's a way to do it, but is you just have to keep in mind they're just learning about this world. So then if you put them in
Yes.
front of an alien world where the rules are different, what does that mean? I remember being developing a story for a show, and we thought it'd be really funny if it was a preschool show, really young, cool preschool show, and we thought it'd be really funny if the car ran on ketchup. And then we did a bunch of testing on it, and the kids that we tested on, which was all ranges from like 2 to 5, um, and we had such, we thought we were being really funny. We thought it was quirky. We were like, yes, this is just so whimsical and lovely. And then we got the testing back and all the kids were confused. They were like, do cars run on ketchup? Uh, and then they'd be like, is that what cars run on? Or then the older kids would be like, that's not right. Cars don't run on ketchup. And again,
Huh.
tried to do it where it could work, but the way we had done it just confused the audience. So it's those firsts that become, you've got to keep your eye on. And alien worlds are alien, but they don't have the context of that it's not normal.
Right. I love that. I love it. That's such an innocent observation, and it's so true about kids still anchoring themselves in the world of today, the world around them, that it's like it requires knowing cars run on gasoline and that this ketchup fuel is funny. And, it requires uh, some kind of mental, uh, uh, awareness that it's still in development. I love it. That's really cute. That's it. Yeah. And you don't anticipate that kind of problem, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
context is
mm,
always really interesting for that kids don't have the context that we have as adults too, and we
yeah.
sometimes forget that. Um, and and like we said, we thought we were being really whimsical and cute, but actually we just confused our audience.
Lorna, towards the end of every conversation, I like to ask the same question, which is, what is a rule in our industry that you believe is worth breaking?
I'm slightly worried that mine's a little controversial because I think the standard term is right for yourself and the audience follows. Is that right? Like that's the
That's what they tell you.
yeah. I would say write for your audience first.
Ah, I love that. And why? Where did you get that insight from?
Well, I think you're always gonna bring something that's unique about your voice is unique, so that's you're gonna be there anyway. But I think if if the viewer doesn't understand or care, uh, or why are they gonna benefit from your story? So I think it's kind of keeping, okay, who is this story aimed at? Why are they gonna care? What's interesting to them about this? Why do they wanna keep watching? That sort of thing. That relatability of putting them first. What's relatable to them? What's interesting to them?
Yeah.
And then you're going to put, your voice is obviously going to be there. That's what makes it special. That's what makes it unique. Um, but centering your audience first in what's interesting to them, I
And
find.
yeah, and if you're writing in that example for yourself, or if the writer is writing for themselves first, what do you think is a potential hazard, or what can trip them up when they're doing that?
The risk that I've seen is that you can alienate your audience. Because again, like we were saying, we thought we were being really funny when we said, let's have the car run on ketchup. That doesn't make sense to a preschooler. Um, and I think that can be like being understood doesn't require sacrificing authenticity. So, does that make sense?
I love that. Being understood does not require sacrificing authenticity.
So, it's
Oh.
not that your voice isn't going to be there, but you are centering your audience to make sure that you're creating something that they want to watch. It's all good creating something, but if there's no audience there to watch it, I can't sell it. I can't get it made. If you see what I mean. So that's where kind of like I'm that bridge between the audience and the buyer and you as a creator. I need to know that there's an audience for it, and then I can sell it to a buyer. But if something hasn't really been created, knowing its audience, and I would also say as a tip for pitching, always state who you think your audience is for your show at the very beginning of your pitch.
Ooh,
Because otherwise, me or whoever exec is that you're pitching to, where they're going like, is this preschool? Is this core preschool? Is this upper preschool? Are they doing bridge? And we're not listening to all the interesting details that you're telling us. We're being like, where are they, this person pitching me, placing this? Whereas what you want us to be doing is listening to you. So the minute you tell us, "Oh, it's a bridge show," I'm like, "Okay." And I'm in. I'm hooked. I'm
yeah.
listening. I'm paying attention. I'm not trying to guess where you think this show is. If I disagree or I think actually it's somewhere else, I'll tell you at the end, but I know where you're placing it. And if you go through, I'm like, actually, I would probably say that you're not really hitting bridge. It's younger. You can disagree with me. That's totally fine. I'm there to kind of give information for you to use if it's helpful and ignore if it's not. But I think centering and telling an exec what it is they're about to hear, who the audience is, means that they can sit back and listen and engage with the rest of the pitch. But if you don't tell them that, they're sat there going, where does this sit? How, what bucket am I putting this in? And they're kind of trying to figure that out without really, and then you're only getting half of their attention when you want 100% of their attention.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that insight.
Yeah. Or I've seen it so many times. And also text on screen is not a no-no, but we tend to start reading it. And again, when you want us listening to you, not reading what's on the screen.
Yeah. Oh,
it's not, and again, not a no-no. Text on screen is perfectly fine. But as a light hint, I would say the less text you have on screen, the more we're listening to you.
Right. Lorna, this was so insightful. Just being on the writing side, there's oftentimes we're just, what's that expression? Too close to the forest to see the trees. And this was just so insightful, Lorna, just to get your perspective. And I just can't thank you enough for doing this. I was so excited to do it, and I'm thrilled we did.
Of course. It's, as I say, if there's anything in my head that is helpful to any writers or creators, you're welcome to it.
Well, thank you, Lorna.
Thank you so much.
Hey, before you go, thank you for listening. If you want more episodes like this, make sure to hit that follow or subscribe button. And while you're at it, grab my free guide, The Rule Breaker's Guide to Finding Your Creative Voice. It's a brutally honest roadmap I put together, built from the lessons, mistakes, and breakthroughs I've collected along my journey as a writer. You can download it for free at storyseriespodcast.com. See you in the next one.